I mean, the good thing about the beginning is it's the easiest part to just trim,
Oh, I guess that's
right?
true. Yeah, you can just be
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
clip.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm not clipping anything. We do cold starts here. This is how we start.
Yeah,
What's
there's a
going on?
difference between a cold start and a crappy start, though.
Oh, okay.
So
We're definitely leaving this.
if you just cut off the crappy beginning, you still get a great cold start. You get a better
I
cold
guess
start.
I guess that's true. What is this? This is like the whole, if you need to write and you're just sitting there looking at the blank page, just start writing words, and then you just delete all the junk because eventually you get in the flow.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
actually a really highly recommended process for
Yeah.
writers.
Yeah.
There
I
was
wasn't
a
just saying
mental
that.
model I saw from David Perel,
Oh, cool.
and I'm trying to remember how he phrased it. He got it from someone else, but
Right.
he's the person who was sharing this mental model.
Yeah.
But he was talking about it was like the pipe. It's like some sort of pipe metaphor,
Hmm.
like a creativity. Like creativity is like going through some pipe, and it's like you actually have to kind of clear the pipe first. You have to
Oh,
like
okay.
turn on the faucet. Maybe it was a faucet metaphor. You have
Yeah.
to turn on the faucet and like let the water run for a while
Yeah.
and like let the kind of like let the crap come out,
Yeah.
and then the creativity starts.
And you're like,
So
all right.
some writers really believe in this, so they actually it's like you have to write and then write for like a while, maybe like an hour
Yeah.
or a couple hours. And that's you just clearing the pipe. Like you're not
Yeah.
actually going to get any good ideas
Wow.
in that time. And then it's after like hour 2 of doing
Yeah.
that or whatever. That's when you start to really get the good ideas and the creative ideas and the ones that you'll keep at the end.
That's sweet.
It's a pretty time intensive process. It's not
Yeah.
one that I've ever used because I'm trying to just focus more on like publishing, like
Yeah.
getting my words when I write them shipped.
Yeah. Right. See,
But I
that's
could
where I'm
see
at.
that being really valuable if I had more time for writing,
Yeah.
which I would if I think if I decided to make the output of my writing my product, right?
Well, of course. Yeah.
If
Well,
that
when I
was the
wanted to
thing I
get,
was trying to give people and as the final thing.
yeah, when I was trying to get better at writing, like for work, like business writing, kind of like just whatever,
Hmm.
I subscribed to the subreddit writing prompts.
Okay.
And then I found like they had some like website in the wiki, but it was awesome. Like every day you got like an email and it was just a writing prompt. And
Mm,
the whole point was you just responded to it and you wrote
that
a
is
thing
cool.
based on the
That's really
prompt.
cool.
Yeah, so like every morning I was just like answering this writing prompt with like 3 paragraphs or something was like the rule I gave myself. Like I just
Hmm.
got to write 3 paragraphs that responds to this prompt,
Hmm.
and it actually helped a lot. You
That's
just
awesome.
you just practicing the muscle. That's it. They're
Yeah,
like little short stories.
anything that pushes you to write every single day, even a bit, is
It's like just write more.
gonna be
Yeah.
good. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love
Well,
that.
I mean the
Should check
classic
that
write
out.
more, but also read more for sure.
I
That
should look
helps.
for. I'm gonna make a note. I'm gonna look for something like that.
There's like tons
The
of
thing I
websites for
want to
that.
learn about and work on, and I don't actually know much about, is creative writing.
Right. Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
business writing, I got pretty good at,
Yeah. Right.
and
Yeah.
I mean, you can always get better,
Yeah. Of
obviously.
course.
But I kind of feel like I kind of hit the 80/20 of that, or like
Yeah.
it's fine. So now I've shifted my focus to like creative writing. Like how
Yeah.
do you write like that? And it's completely different ball game.
Hmm.
But it's the kind of writing I do more often these days because
Yeah.
I'm creating these like creative little stories and stuff for my business, right?
Yeah. Oh,
So it's
dude,
interesting. Yeah.
I for our D&D campaign, I decided this time to use like pre-mades. So before
Hmm.
we were homebrewing
Sure.
everything, I was homebrewing everything.
Hmm.
Other people were jumping in, but this time I was like, you know what, I'm pretty busy. Like I'll just use one of these side adventures that
Sure. Yeah.
already exist, whatever. Yeah. So I gave a list of options because we do a West Marches campaign for our listeners. But basically the party gets to pick where they want to go. So I gave the party like these kind of hooks. I was like, here are
Hmm.
4 hooks. Like which one do you want to pick? And each one I had like a pre-made campaign that I'd slightly altered to make sure it fit our
Hmm.
homebrew,
Yeah.
whatever. And I was like, okay, great. And everybody picked this, this one that they were interested in. And I was like, okay, that's the one we're going to do. But what I didn't realize is that was the one done by, anyway, I picked all the side quests I had picked, the pre-mades were from one person, like a creative person. But I didn't realize that the one that the party picked was actually from a different person that I hadn't actually checked their work really. And
Okay.
so anyway, so when I led the D&D session, like let's just say they don't have good writing. Like it's really bad. And I was like, oh
Interesting.
no. So the number of times like while you and the group were doing some things, I would like read what they were trying to convey as like what's supposed to happen, and it was just like it was so wrong. Like to the point that I'm like, nobody has proofread this, and I'm shocked that it was published on the internet as a thing. So yeah, so it's kind of funny. I'm just like, well, I guess I'm gonna have to maybe fix this up myself. Like they literally had a different character, like an NPC proper noun name that's never mentioned anywhere else. Like to the point that I'm like, you put that in and then deleted that character probably from this adventure, but missed this sentence.
This
like,
reference.
like it was just
Yeah.
pretty funny. I was like, what?
Damn. It's actually, yeah, it's an interesting format I've never tried,
Yeah.
but I'm starting to learn about like adventure writing for
Right. Yeah.
D&D.
Yeah.
And it's really fascinating because it's kind of a mix between creative writing and game, but also game design, and
Right.
also like I guess business writing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like more like utilitarian writing.
Yeah.
And you have to somehow
Yeah.
blend all three of those elements on one short page. So it's very tricky to get that
Oh,
balance right
yeah.
and to understand and like to help a reader like use it to prep and then also use it at the table. It's like it's
Yeah.
really complicated.
Yeah.
I think potentially complicated. So it's interesting. I'm just started learning about that. I actually started randomly the other week. I started an adventure reading club.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I just like was like, I want to learn more about adventure writing.
Sure.
And the way I learn things that are new is I try to find great examples of them and study
Yeah,
them.
of course.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was like, cool, this is what I'm gonna do. And then I thought to myself, this would be way more fun with other people.
Yeah.
Like a little reading club, and we're all like kind of tearing apart the same adventure at the same time.
Okay.
So
Cool.
I just asked some just random Discord servers and like social media places, and I got like just over 20 people now in a Discord
Cool.
server, and
That's
we're
amazing.
like on our first adventure right now, which
Yeah.
I'm hoping to look at this week and do like my little like analysis of it.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
it's cool.
Man. That's gonna be really fun. Got to close some stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, I guess the whole point here is I also wrote a blog post like mid last year or something like that that just said product managers should take more notes, and it got
Okay.
like a weirdly large amount of like love from people being like, yeah, and it feels like it's one of those high performing product organizations all agree that product managers should write more. Like you should be good at writing a memo. You should be really good at writing, like all your written language should be very clear, and like that builds a better, stronger product team. However, those that aren't high performance, I don't think that way. I think that a lot of PMs think they just need to go places and take more meetings. And I find that very interesting. So I wrote this blog post just kind of being like, hey, like just like you don't like that's in my opinion, that's not how you become like an expert product leader. Like you need to be really good at writing. And the path to that is like every meeting you go to, like be the note taker. Because that's the other thing that I see in like larger organizations is product managers usually have someone supporting them, either like they call them like a business analyst or like whatever, and then that person takes the notes. And it's like this interesting, like, you know, like the PM's like holding court and like does like the meeting and like leads it and is a visionary or whatever. And other people take the notes, whatever, and then they go away and do the work. And I find that like it's like that's not how you lead a product team. Like it's just it doesn't connect. Like that means that you're probably average. And like the best product managers I know are usually like in there themselves, writing the notes themselves. And it's like a way to synthesize information in your head. It's a way to make sure that you're getting the message across. Like nobody knows what you know. Like it's like a whole thing. Anyway. So this is very relevant to anyone trying to do product, in my opinion, is like learn stuff. Maybe join the adventure reading club. Like I don't just like anything. Like you just need to get better at writing, and people should write more, especially for this like remote work, asynchronous world that's coming. I'm biased as heck because we've got a product called Codex, but like I'm very bullish on that. Like writing skills is it's a hard soft skill to find. Like when I've gone out hiring, strong writing is like actually very hard to find. So,
I don't know. I have a lot to say about this. Trying to think which way to take it.
all right.
I think, like, I completely agree. I think writing skills are incredibly important. If
Yep.
you operate, if you're looking to be effective within a business organization
Yep.
that's bigger than like 10 people,
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
writing skills are probably one of the most valuable things you can invest in.
Hmm.
And I think I would say this is true of anyone in the
Yeah. Probably.
organization. I think you're right, maybe right to single out product managers because, I mean, first of all, product managers don't or shouldn't exist unless an organization is at scale. And
Ooh, I'll
right,
fight you, but keep going.
well, no, you need someone thinking about product at any
Mhm.
size,
Okay. Fair.
but you
Carry
don't
on.
tack on manager to
Yeah.
that
Right.
like
Yeah.
role, right? It's
Yeah.
less defined. There's always like the product leader, we'll say, or the
Yeah.
people who think about product, which is essentially like how it connects to real customers,
Yep.
right? The
Yep.
work. You always need that, of
Yep.
course. But in the early days, it's like you don't need like a defined role in like a job posting for like a
No.
product manager. It's like a lot of the times it's like the developer who just has the most opinions on
Oh,
the
for sure.
product. That's
It's
the
like someone
product
on a founding
person,
team.
right?
Yeah. Who's
Yeah, but
like
that sort
got.
of specific name and role in the sort of
Yeah.
context you're describing where they're holding court or whatever, that's
Yeah. Right.
it
Wow.
shouldn't exist in small
Yeah.
organizations, right? Um, so I mean, what's my point there? My point is, so you're right to single them out because it's like this role, the reason this role comes into existence is to manage.
Yep.
Like it's in the title, right? And
Yep.
management is all about kind of connecting dots, connecting
Hmm.
people and ideas, right?
Hmm.
And you know how you do that really effectively, asynchronously and with high leverage? You
Yep.
write. You
Yep.
write really well. You write great
Absolutely.
project briefs.
Yep.
You write great reports on like what's happening. You write great summaries of like what users are thinking. You write meeting invitations,
Yep.
emails. Like that's your main one of your main right hand weapons,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
You got to sharpen that sword. So I agree with you. All of that matters a lot.
Yep.
But the thing I think worth digging into more is like telling people to get better at writing is kind of bad advice. Like
Oh, okay.
it's not granular enough. I don't think it's
Oh,
actionable.
okay.
It's like what
Sure.
everyone hears this all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Be a better
No,
writer. Writing is
yeah.
really powerful. It's
It's a
like
really fair point.
how?
What do you
What
mean?
does that even mean?
Yeah.
Right?
Sure. Yeah.
And I think it's extra complicated with writing because
Mhm.
what you're probably actually asking people to do is become a better thinker, right?
Oh, of
And
course.
it's
Yeah.
like, how do
At
you,
core.
you can become a better thinker to write better, but then if you write more, it helps you think better.
Yes.
There's this weird,
It's like the
it's like
Feynman technique.
quite convoluted.
Yeah.
But I think, yeah, in terms of actionable advice, this is where things get interesting. And I don't know how much I could come up with on the spot right now, but
I got a few.
I've thought about it a lot because a lot of people, not a lot of people, a few people have asked me about this because I guess I somehow built a reputation for being like a solid writer.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm a great writer, but I'm like good considering my background,
Yeah. I know what
which
you
is
mean. I
not
feel
a
like I might.
professional writer.
Yeah. I'm like above average, maybe
Sure, yeah,
right now.
yeah,
Like if someone
yeah.
was actually, but if an actual expert writer came and looked at me, they might be like, "Nah, bro." Like,
Of course, yeah.
you know,
So
yeah.
I've thought a lot about, and I started thinking about improving my writing skills explicitly at the start of 2020. This is
Yeah.
the first time in my life I was like, I'm targeting this skill.
Yeah.
So I've thought a lot about it and like how to do it.
Yeah.
Some things have worked and some things haven't, but
Yeah.
um,
I have actual advice.
your actual, well, one of yours was great, which was like find a way to write every day. Like
Yes.
with writing prompts, that's great.
They're
I think
awesome.
that's a
There's
good,
great websites for that.
like you just have to do it more and not avoid it, right?
Yep. Yeah.
For me, business writing skills went up. Like you can get an easy 20% boost immediately by just forcing yourself to put it into Hemingway app
Yeah.
every single time.
Yep. Straight
Just
tactics.
it's basically self-editing with the help of a tool. Grammarly is also really popular.
Yep.
I've never tried Grammarly. I don't know. I've never tried editing in context as you go with a tool. My gut reaction to that, as someone who actually writes a lot these days, is that's not a good idea. You
Yes.
should do editing as a full mode. It's like, because you're wearing a totally separate hat. It's like when you're a writer, you want to be nice to yourself, and when you're an editor, you want to be mean to yourself.
Yeah.
And so flipping that context on and off all the
Yeah.
time as you go, it slows you down. You're gonna have a worse product, I think. You should just
Yeah.
write your whole email or business thingy.
Whatever.
Just write it, right? And then do a self-editing round as a separate way of thinking. Ideally the next day, actually.
Right. Yeah,
Walk
if you
away
can.
from-
If
Maybe not, I don't know, maybe not with
yeah.
business writing. If it's just an
No,
email,
that
who
was just
cares?
like an email.
I'm
like,
thinking more of my creative writing stuff now, but it's
Yeah.
like write the thing, take a pause, get some water, go back. Now you're an editor.
Yep.
Now you're an asshole, like critical person, which is good. And you edit yourself, and then you do pass number 3, where you take now that thing you tried to do and you put it into Hemingway app or
Yep.
Grammarly. And those tools are really good. They'll quickly point out like all the dumb ways you weaken your writing.
Yeah.
Because business writing for me, it's all about strength. Strength
Yeah.
is like the key word. And strength is like concise, not mincing words, like just
Yes.
like maximum impact for minimum word count is like
Yes.
what you want in business writing and probably online essays and stuff.
That is expert advice. I have actually used Grammarly and uninstalled it, and my experience with it is, now this was years ago. I haven't. They've raised like a fortune and
they're
like
going
are
strong.
a lot bigger now and stuff.
I was thinking
which
of
is,
making a competitor to them one time in VS Code, but continue.
that sounds fun. Sweet. But the biggest thing that I saw was like I have a distinct advantage, right? I'm English first language, like born and raised in Canada, so like English is like the thing I use all the time, and Grammarly is, to my knowledge at the time, that's the only language it could really process effectively and like make sure that you're obviously not messing up. And most of its value was in like the things that someone who may not be as proficient in English would be facing, like the wrong use of there, or there, like that type of stuff was more what it was awesome for, or like logic, like really broken grammar structures. But like that was kind of where it ended. So for me, it was more like, it's a spell check that's way better. A spell check and grammar check that was far superior to like your in-browser experience that the basics all give you. And I was like, okay, cool. Like I don't really need this. Hemingway is a whole other ballgame though, because it like literally looks at things and it's like, hey, you used a word with like 5 syllables. A grade 10 reader might not know what that is. So like, don't. And to your point, and I agree with you, it's like good, strong business writing is basically removing all ambiguity. It's like, don't say things, because I get this all the time in emails. Like I will literally be like, is this task complete? Person X ? And they will say like, yeah, it's really close. And you're like, does that mean it's done? Like I like literally you have those moments with people, you're like, what? Like what? And or they'll write something like as your expert researcher will come back from like a user interview and you'll be like, hey, like give me the brief. And they'll write stuff that's like, it seemed like the user wanted to maybe do this. And you're like, this sentence is totally useless now. Like I need to know, like, did they do it? Did they not do it? Or like, what's your opinion? And people will like pad it with all those like adjectives to like try and not take a real stance and stuff. And it's just like, okay, like I need you to be clear. Anyway, this is my thing. So be clear. I am.
Like I
It's
don't
all
know
still
that
writing.
I don't know that those are specifically going to be fixed by like improving writing skills. But
I think they are.
Maybe.
I think they are. People, if you don't work on your writing skills and you don't work on it from a business communication lens, perhaps it's because when we grow up through public school system and English classes, they're weirdly focused on us like writing stories. They like I found throughout my high school experience in Canada, at least, they're like, write stories, like write this tale And I'm like, that's cool. Creative writing. That's obviously a pursuit in life. And sure, school should be like, hey, maybe you'll like this. But then when I come out of it, I use way too many adjectives. I would use anyway, it doesn't help for business comms.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Is kind
I
of what I'm
agree
saying.
with you about like adjectives and so on.
Yeah. But then people bring that writing into business communications, and it's like a significant problem in my mind. Like, I don't need you to tell me that it's really very good and super cool, blah, blah, blah. Like, I just need to know if it's done or not, or this or that or whatever. Like, obviously this changes if you're writing external facing marketing copy, and like it's all just comes back down to, I guess what you said before, is thinking. Like, think about the writing is a tool too, and what are you using it for? If you're using it to communicate to your engineering team, you can be much more clear, and you don't need to pad it, and you might not need to like sell them. And a lot of people do that still, and it just I don't know, find it wasteful.
Yeah, it's tricky. Worth looking at. Worth looking at your writing for sure.
Absolutely.
So last time we spoke, we ended with some commitments on things we were going to accomplish by this week.
Yeah.
How'd you do? Did you make it?
We did it, man.
You did
We
it.
got users.
That's amazing.
The product is live. We posted about it.
So at least one team
Yep.
is like actually trying it.
Yep. We did it.
That's great.
I'm
Congrats.
pumped. Yeah. We got more than one.
You got more than one? I was just gonna ask how many. Yeah, 3? Okay, 3.
3 are like deployed. Like,
Do you have a
installed.
way of knowing?
No.
Do you have a way of knowing in the data just from the tool itself?
No, not in the data, not with the tool itself. It's actually funny to get an alpha out. Like, that was one of the feature sets we like cut from, was like, you know what? I know we need analytics like super crazy bad in order to grow like quickly, effectively, and do product led growth, which is what our intention is. But for a first version, I was like, no. I'll just literally ask a person. They'll be like, yo, I installed it. And I'm like, that's one. Like, so they told me they did it. Yeah. And so I'm going with it. Like, it's just, so yeah, I guess they could have lied, but it's 3 right now.
No, I don't think people would lie.
Trust me, I don't think any of these people were lying to me, but yeah, I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, I was more curious about how, like, is there any concept of a team in your tool right now? Like, or is it just like attached to like a GitHub user?
It's attached to a GitHub user, so you auth with your GitHub ID, and we get the email that you used for GitHub via their APIs. Yeah. So that's what constitutes a user. And then I say it's an install when they actually approve it on a repo. So they can install the Chrome extension. So we've got more people who like installed the Chrome extension, but that's not using it. Yeah. Exactly. So it's like, oh, you deployed it on a repo, which means like you can actually start like logging stuff to your codex on that repo or whatever, as like deployed. And so anyway, three people have done that. I've got a list of, actually it's great. I think like 20 people have agreed. Above the 3 that have actually deployed, 20 people are like, I'm going to use this, and like I'm going to do some user interviews with them.
Just keep following up.
Yeah, and it's great. We got a lot of attention on that. Like CTOs of fairly large organizations, like Series B and Series C funded, like saying like this is cool. I got a couple like DMs. Like it's like it feels nice. It feels like really good. This is the first time. It's one of the first times I just put a product out there without any real go-to-market plan, where there was like fairly immediate and obvious and valuable feedback, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
It feels really good.
Beating a dead horse at this point, but I think you've really got like a hot problem domain here.
Yeah.
Like it's just everyone wants this to be better, and but they don't know how. So you just gotta like harness that momentum and keep shaping the product, right?
I was actually reading the work of Derek Sivers this morning to like motivate me.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
I'm in a weird place.
Sivers is quite the sage. So what did he have to say today?
Well, his book, Hell Yeah or No, is the actual book I was reading. And the chapter I read was, I actually tweeted about it a second ago. It was the one on, well, I think his URL is Sivers/time. So I think it's on time, but he talks about present focused and future focused. So he's like, he explains what a present focused person is like and what a future focused person is like, and then goes on to explain how you have to be able to do both. Like you have to be able to shift between a present and a future focus in order to like achieve ultimately, because it's like future focused people defer gratification. They act like this. They usually have discipline. They
Okay.
generally work out. They generally take preventative health measures
Okay. Makes
because
sense.
they're
Yeah.
thinking they're usually
Focused on the
ambitious because
future.
they're driving towards a goal. And then he's like, but their like personal relationships generally get damaged. Like these things happen because they're so future focused. They don't consider like the things in the day to day that you got to do. And then it's like
Mm.
vice versa. Present focused people are usually like more loving. They're thoughtful. They're like this, that, and the other. But he's
Mm.
like, look, you can't be one or other. You gotta bring them together. And there was just like one paragraph where he highlights what happens when you have a disconnection between the two.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like creepily accurate to me, which is why I like this type of work in these books, because it's like basically reading it, I felt like Sivers was like, hey, Brandon, I know you're moving and you're living in the present mode because you're like, oh my God, this week I got to drive across the country. But like my discipline has gone like negative. Like I've gone in the far opposite direction. Like I am not sending the volume of emails I probably should have sent about Codex's launch. Like I'm just not doing it because I'm just like so focused on like today, which involves like, selling my TV to like move and like all this other stuff that it was just
Yeah.
funny. And
Yeah.
I was like, thanks, Sivers, man. I'm gonna get back to my disciplined future self. I've been too present moment because of,
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever, the stresses of
Yeah.
my life.
Yeah, for sure. That's good that you noticed that, I think. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
I feel like you had bad timing.
Yeah.
Like
Really
your
did.
sequencing just
Yep.
didn't work out.
Nope.
You probably, let me guess, you're probably typically a future focused person.
Oh my God, all the time.
Yeah. Yeah,
All of the time.
as a typically future focused person.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm like
No, it's fine.
calling you this
Penalize
because
me.
I'm the same. So it's like we're brothers, and it's just like dead obvious which camp we're both in. Like we're
Yeah.
very
This is what the listeners
future
come for.
oriented.
You to
Yeah,
beat me up.
exactly. No, I'm not trying to beat you up.
I'm
I'm just like an
kidding.
observation, and it's
Clearly
like
kidding.
um, because I do this all the time. I
Yeah.
constantly do this as a future focused person. I tend to underestimate the pull of the present.
Yes.
Like I suspect you underestimated exactly how much mental energy moving across the country was going to take. You
Absolutely.
probably assumed it would be a bunch of work,
Yes.
but it's probably in reality 3 or 4x on your mind share than you had assumed it was because you're focused on the
4x.
future. You're
Easy.
not focused on
Yeah.
like this, just
Yeah.
every little bit that'll entail. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So you've
Well,
like
because like
over extended yourself.
absolutely. And I can like I could show it to people because I have a calendar and I'm very strict with my calendar. Like I put blocks for things in real life too. And I just like it works for me. I'm sure someone will tell me that I'm dumb, but I don't care. And one of those things, and the best way to phrase it is for the move, it's like, Wednesday night I had like a 2 hour block, which was like pack office. Because I literally looked around my office and I was like, that'll take 2 hours. What I
Sure.
didn't realize is it actually takes like 4 to 6 because you have to consider every object when you're
Yeah.
moving with only an SUV.
You do.
I'm not pulling a
sure
trailer. I'm not. So it's just like every
it's a
moment
different
was
level.
like,
Yeah.
does this thing matter to me?
Right.
I'm just like, oh no.
Yeah.
So that happens. Then I do the thing. I sell the stuff. I get rid of things like whatever. And then I like wake up stressed and I'm just like, should I have done that? Should I have gotten rid of that object? Anyway. So yes, the mental energy
Yeah.
is
Yeah. For me, the
higher.
other challenge, the hidden killer that I think
Yep.
it took me a long time to understand this in my career, but once I did, it was like I don't know, it was like a lightning bolt of
Oh.
inspiration and understanding. And
Yeah.
it's people don't understand or think about attention management, right?
Oh yeah.
It's like time management everyone knows about, and that's the thing you just talked about.
Yep.
It's like
Like-
your calendar has blocks, and there's
Yep.
only so many blocks in a week.
That's it.
And you need
Yeah.
to budget them, and things take time, and etc. Right?
Yeah.
But you forget about attention management. It's like there's the physical time spent, but there's also the amount of like mental attention on the thing.
Yeah.
And it has a massive impact on what you actually get done and how well you do it.
Yeah.
And that's like, even though I know about it, it's like a thing I'll underestimate a lot.
Yeah.
And I did this recently in my business with all the like publishing projects I'm working on.
Oh yeah.
And I
Yeah.
have so I'm like working with freelancers, and I'm kind of pushing 3 of them forward at once.
Yeah.
And I just completely underestimated the attention side of the
Yeah.
coin.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, like I definitely have enough time to do three. And well, like I'm working with freelancers, a lot of it's out of my hands, and I'm just
Yeah.
like waiting and then giving
Yeah.
feedback like ping pong. But
Yeah.
I forgot about like, okay, but in between when I'm not actually like hands on the keys, it's still just pulling like a huge chunk of my mental resources
Yeah.
because I'm thinking about it and I have to think about it
Yeah.
because they're gonna come back with more and more questions and I need to be like having some vision here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the attention budget was just off, and it's
Yeah.
like
That's
not screwed me, but definitely affected my my work and like it's like oops, I shouldn't have done that.
oh yeah.
Shouldn't have started that now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely. That's basically been my entire experience. Like I'm walking my dog and I'm thinking about this drive, like where I need to stop. Do I have enough gas in the car?
Yeah,
Like, you know,
exactly. You're just
like I'm going to be
it's
like,
pulling your
oh, just
attention all the
constantly.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's just this overwhelming amount of excitement.
Oh
So
yeah, you
like
must be.
you
I was
can't,
thinking
yeah,
about that yesterday. It's
right?
like Brandon
Like,
must
yeah.
be freaking excited.
Well,
I
of
would be so
course.
excited to just get the
Like,
hell out of Dodge.
well, yeah, right.
So
Because
cool.
if you would like write down the very basic things, it's like everybody had COVID, and like there's no way that I'm trying to explain that my situation is like bad. It's actually lovely and amazing. However, for me, it was like living downtown Toronto, pure lockdown for an entire year. Like, don't do anything. And then, of course, by the fluke of Canada, we have like this crazy warm spring week thing going on right now. It's like amazing. So
Loving
I
it.
like went outside for a walk and it just feels great. And then there's like that sense of like, oh, I could maybe go outside. And like when I go to Vancouver, like, look, it's obviously still a pandemic. There's obviously still all these restrictions, but just reading them on paper of like DT Toronto versus Vancouver is like, it's like I'm gonna go to like happy fun land there. The amount of things that you can actually do still safely with all the other, you know, parameters, but it's like
Yeah.
wild. Like I haven't had a haircut in over a year. Like, you know, I did it myself or my partners helped me out. It's just like, anyway, the excitement is palpable. I'm also a huge traveler. There was no travel. So it's like just driving across the country is going to be fun. Like, so anyway, all this stuff does get away. Like apparently we're going to go to, the national park, where all the dinosaurs are found. It's called like Dinosaur Canyon or whatever. So I'm going to check
Awesome.
that out. Where
Yeah.
like archaeologists have discovered like something insane. Like I think like 20 dinosaurs in this place, and we're gonna go check it out. I'm also gonna see a giant goose in Wawa, Ontario.
Love it.
Why not?
Why not?
Like, you know, it's just like weird stuff. I'm just like, anyway, I am excited. So that's distracting. Very, very
Yeah.
attention grabbing. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But what I should be doing is telling the world about Codex, Adam.
Yeah, maybe. I guess so. Like you definitely should.
Yeah.
It's just I think the timing was bad.
Yeah, so I guess that comes down to another thing. I still think we did the right choice. Cuz like the other option was don't launch it, hold it back, wait till I settle, like get back on my feet. I'm in Vancouver, which, you know, in your head you're like that's 2 weeks. Like, you know, let's be fair, it's about a 2-week delay. And I think that would be a waste of time. I think blowing 2 weeks because like the timing wasn't ideal is like a really bad idea because we're in alpha. I was like, no, let's just get it out. Let's get those 3 people to install, like whatever, and let them mess with it. And I've told them all, like, hey, I'm driving. Like I'm gone March 26th to April 6th. Like I will not be talking to you, like whatever. And it's kind of great because I'm hoping I come back and have like these more long-term conversations with some of these people. Like obviously I'm having chats this week with like the first onboarding use stuff, and then hopefully come back in 2 weeks and be like, you still using it? Is this still a thing? Like, is there any value? Like, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good counterpoint. Like, I've actually been
You
thinking
gotta
about this.
ship.
Yeah, yeah. I've been thinking about this a lot lately, actually. Like the need, just the importance of releasing stuff and doing it sooner. Always. Like
Yep.
finding a way to just get things out there.
Yep.
I think it's really important. And it's like something I want to really continue practicing and improving at with what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I always find ways to I think I'm very actually quite good at finding ways to ship sooner. It's like
Yeah.
a strength I have, but I don't always apply those skills.
Right. Yeah.
I have like a vision, I guess, or a default setting on like what I want a thing to be, and so it's
Yep.
waiting for that moment to go out, and
Yeah.
there's always room to pull it up or whatever.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, Codex is a great example of that. Like, I feel like this thing is like probably the closest it possibly could have been to an actual MVP. Like, the thing in the like what works in that right now are like 3 really key user flows, and it has like none of the stuff that it really needs to like be like a fully functioning product on like real high performance teams, because you can only use it in a Chrome based browser on github.com.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, of
that is
course.
not enough right now. But like, that's the hope, right? Is like, is this pain so real that you'll still go in here and try? Is like part of like what we're trying to learn with customers, of course. And then of course it's like, do you see what we see? And so far, everybody just looking at the website, looking at the videos or whatever, like, yes, like I see what you're saying, and I want that future to exist. And I'm like, okay, because I think that's all I need to hopefully successfully raise this, round, and then be able to pursue the thing, the vision we're painting is essentially where we're at.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So what are your next what's like a rough I wouldn't hold you to it at all, but
Yeah.
what's like a rough high level timeline of like the next month or so for Codex? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, how much feedback do you want or need before you start trying to raise, or do those happen at the same time, or like what's your ideal sequence in the next like month or two?
Nice. Same time. So we are now, yeah, like, I'm sorry, there's all this weird sensitivity in fundraising. It's all like this weird game where you're not supposed to say you're fundraising, and then like you say you're doing it, and yeah, it's
What?
yeah, you want to know some weird,
Is it to
like,
build like a sense of like mystique or mystery, like sort of
yes,
coolness around your
yes,
product or something? Is
yes,
that,
yeah, like
yeah. Jesus.
when like, right, so as a founder, when you want to fundraise, your goal is to raise a certain amount of money based on hopefully an intelligent estimation via an operating plan of like how much money you need to make a thing, and then get somewhere, generally a milestone or multiple milestones. That's, you're like, I need this much money because then we can achieve these things.
Yeah.
Cool. But when you actually go to fundraise, the other side of the table, like all the VCs, angels, whoever, all they want to do is maximize as much information about you as possible so that they can minimize their risk of outlaying that capital as much as possible. So
fair.
you both live in a world where your objectives are completely misaligned, kind of like in terms of the founder wants money now to get going, and the VC wants to learn everything about you and give you money as late as possible. That does, but without missing the deal or screwing over the product's opportunity or whatever, if there's like a timing window.
Okay.
So they're like, I want all this data. You're like, I just need your check. So what happens is this really silly game, essentially, of like founders trying to say to a VC, like, hey, like, your ideal situation is you call them and you're like, hey, I'm opening a round. And the person's hopefully met you before, maybe at least once or twice. They know a bit about you. You've had like little early combos, or you have really strong, like, warm introductions, like, someone they've invested in before, calling them and saying, you should talk to this founder. Like, that's a great intro, because they're like, oh, I've written this guy a check, or this woman a check, who's running a business that I love. And she's saying, talk to Brandon. So you want those types of intros. But in this situation, the problem is you want to call them and be like, we're raising, and we're going to close in 2 weeks.
Right.
This round, you have the opportunity to give me money for only 2 weeks, though. Yeah, only 2
That
weeks.
makes sense. It's like
Figure it out.
time pressure. Sales,
Yeah, so you apply time pressure. You hopefully have a lead already, and you're like, oh, and we have a lead. So this is the term sheet, which now makes this a binary response for you. Like, you have 2 weeks to say yes or no to these terms.
Yeah.
Do it. And then you try to like coalesce the whole round as quickly as possible, close it, and move on. The problem is, when you look at the data, the average fundraising round takes 4 to 6 months. So how do those things link up? And what the reality is you're raising secretly for like 4 months, talking to people, building relationships, doing all this stuff, and then you quote open your round,
and then you
and
do
like
the thing,
do it
but
in
it's
like
already
2 to 4 week like
a
crunchy
foregone
period.
conclusion.
But yeah, like you've already
Interesting.
probably done what's the quote soft circled a bunch of money from people that you've been talking to.
Yeah, okay.
It's just like Kickstarter, dude. You should
It's
never
I
deploy
was
a
just gonna say it's
Kickstarter with
exactly
$0. Yeah,
I was gonna say it's exactly like Kickstarter.
yep.
Sounds like
That's
I've
fundraising.
never run a Kickstarter, but I've like learned a bit about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's essentially like,
But it's the same thing.
you do the Kickstarter once you've already
Like if a
put in
third
a
of your
lot of
Kickstarter is
effort on, like,
funded, basically,
building
then
an
you,
audience and
yeah. Anyway, it's just that. So back to your actually important question here. We're doing both. We're fundraising right now, meaning I'm taking as many phone calls as possible. I will be doing a ton of outreach. I'll be talking to VCs, angels, whatever, as much as I can to give them as much data on us as possible so that when we say we're opening the funding round, we can move quickly. And I'm like pushing aggressively just to get, like, I need more people using the product, telling me what's wrong, telling me what's right, all that jazz. So I'm kind of going to be living a bit of a duality, which is tricky because fundraising is a full-time job. But when you're the pre-seed company with just 3 people, too bad. You do both. So that's definitely the game. But yeah, like if anybody wants to use it, tweet me, hit me up, DM me. I don't know. Carrier pigeon. Don't care. Let's hang. I want them to try Codex.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Do you think it'll take, what'd you say, the average is 4 to 6 months?
Yeah, I think it's about 4 to 6 months per round. No.
Are you expecting that for Codex?
No, I'm not. I'm expecting we'll be able to, let's pretend we started in April. So we'll say, because it's just easier. I think it'll take 2 months.
2? Yeah, why
2 months.
Why so much shorter of a time?
Well, because technically I started my fundraise in February. So I started reaching out, started speaking to people. I've already got notes on 15 VC conversations and like first meetings I've had.
So it's not 2 months, it's 4.
Yeah. Well, from now,
that's
2
what
months.
You think of it.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to be 4. Yeah. We'll likely be in the 4 month range. I mean, that's an aggressive goal. So let's be real. It'll probably wind up, I'll miss, and then we'll slide into that 6 month range or whatever.
I hope not.
But yeah, I hope not too. But I gotta be ready for it. Like,
yeah,
that's kind of the thing. Like, we have cash in bank, we have salaries to pay. If we can't cover salaries, that's called bankruptcy, and then the product dies. And that's, so, you know, you either do it or you don't. Like, there's not really much room for ambiguity in there.
Right.
So yeah,
cool.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun, man. Like, I'm happy to talk about my exact process or something if people would find that helpful, I guess. But no.
I don't know. It's up to you. I don't have any other questions, but
yeah, no. I mean, it's all pretty basic. Email more people. It's pretty straightforward. Just like reach out,
exactly.
Do more, get intros. Just like this is the part of like the process that I think people need to understand the most, because it's like when you read all the blog posts, no one really gets to like this nitty gritty. It's like, well, how do you get a VC to talk to you for the first time? You know what I mean? Like that moment. And like, it's like, get an intro. That is your best way. Get a strong introduction. And then, like, somewhere on the internet, someone's written a list of like what the best type of intro is and then what the worst type. And generally speaking, it's like best type is a founder that person has invested in that has been successful introducing you. So if you can get, you know, someone who sold their company for like $1 billion and made that investor a lot of money to introduce you, that is your best intro you'll ever get. Because they're like, you know, this operator that I trust and believe who also made me money is like, you should talk to this person and their company. Best. Second best is the exact same scenario, except they haven't sold yet. So it's a person they've invested in that they trust and is currently building. And then I think below that is like, it's usually anyone, well, now there's scout networks, which is a whole other ball game in venture. So a scout network is a great way. And a scout network is essentially, almost always, it's a bunch of founders who lead a company or are leading their own companies that are in like a group almost, who send deal flow to a VC fund. But they're actually formally called scouts. And so again, VCs are always just trying to get better deal flow. That's like the whole trick. So you just need to hack their deal flow method. So all those ways, those are the best 3 ways. Some of the worst, because there's a bunch of middle ground in there, but some of the worst are like usually from no offense to them, but like lawyers. Often your lawyer will be like, oh, I'll make an introduction to like a VC because they've done like, whatever. Generally those don't help because, I mean, they can and they can't, I guess, assess the individual. If they have a strong rapport, great, still great intro. If they don't, usually not. And anyway, when you're actually doing this, if you actually go out and do this, the harder part is it's like, okay, great, I get an intro. Well, how do I get an intro? And the whys just keep coming up, and you're like, well, do something interesting enough to make the founder of that company that you want an intro from give you an intro. And then it's like, okay, well, how do I do that? And it just, you just get to creative problem solving.
So if you can't do the intro thing, like, is cold email an option? Like, can you not just say, yo?
So when at the fund that I worked at, by percentage, it was like, I'm gonna round because it's not fair to give me accurate numbers either. But like 80% of the deals we did came through a referral of some kind. So 80% of the time that we actually wrote a check, there was a referral, either one of our limited partners, so an LP in the fund referring other founders, all the stuff. About, I think it was around 5% was cold.
Okay.
So like, and that math kind of, you can go look at it. Like there's tons of VC like fund and analytics and stuff, but like that's about right. So 5% of deals will come cold. So it's kind of like do everything you can to be in the referral. And if you still can't, cold is fine because you should still be taking a chance, right? You should still roll those dice. Yes. Yeah. But like you're just in a tougher position because it's really hard, right? Like as a VC, you meet with like 200 companies a month. And so when you sit down with 200 companies a month and they're coming through cold or whatever, it's really hard to try and be like, which one stays in the like promising category, which ones do I just say no to, like whatever. And the easiest way is like, if you, my brother, were like, talk to this team, they're going to stay in the promising category because it's just like, just happens. It's how humans work, right? Like if you make an introduction, you have all this trust and respect from me. It's like, well, it's gotta be better than cold is kind of the thing. And we also, it's also a self-referencing problem because VCs, one of the big things when you're doing early stage deals too, is most of your focus is on the team. Like how effective is this team? Because they're likely going to pivot a lot. And whatever they're telling you today is probably not quite what the real big product is going to be at the end of the day. We all know this sort of story. So in their mind, they're like, if this founder couldn't find someone to refer, are they the right team to get this done? And that's one of the harder questions to really provably have an answer to. Because it's like, well, they couldn't find a way to get someone to refer to me by proving themselves in that manner. So how are they going to convince a Fortune 500 company to purchase their product? Like they don't have that. There's like an it factor there. Right. People call it hustle, but like, whatever, but there's something there, right? Like about that. Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah. No, it all makes sense. I guess all of this to me just sounds like a strong argument in favor of
bootstrap.
Sorry. Definitely that.
If you could bootstrap. Think about all this time I'm wasting not building my product.
It's a lot of time. I was going to say it's an argument in favor of sort of like everyone moving to Silicon Valley, right?
Right. Yeah.
That's why
network effects,
I think this is a big part of the reason everyone who has ambitions to build big companies and they think they're going to raise money all fly to the same place on Earth, so that you're just like bumping into people and actually meeting people all the time who are going to be like the next founder that will give you a referral to a venture fund.
Yes. 1,000,000,000%. And all the data I gave you, I'm pretty sure 4 to 6 months is the average for a Canadian founding team. I don't know what the actual number is, but as soon as you go to Silicon Valley, the like average one that I saw, it's literally like 2 to 3 weeks. Yeah. Like they open a round and it's just like
everyone knows everyone.
Oh, dude, it's hilarious. It's the stone in a pond ripple effect almost. Like one of my friends was down there and the guy had already sold a company. Like he was a second time founder. Obviously that helps
Mm-hmm.
too and stuff. But he was like, he told one friend at a coffee shop, he's like, yeah, I'm going to fundraise for this business. And in like a week, the round was done. Because that one person walked away, called like their three
Yo,
friends
that
to
goes
like
with
coalesce around. And it was like, let's go. Like, I was like, what?
cool.
Like, yeah,
Cool.
it's crazy. And the speed there too. They're also, anyway, there's a lot of,
We
I
live in
don't
a
want to
weird
totally,
world, man.
yeah, it's weird. There's a lot of capital out there right now is the other thing.
Tech is so interesting. We live in la la land. Like
Yeah, 100%, man.
this can't be most people's life. Like what the
No.
hell? Just the fact that you can so quickly command so much capital around like an objective.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. I feel
Well, it's just
pretty
crazy to
lucky be
watch.
here. Yeah.
Like if you look at some of the returns people get, like it's just, anyway, yeah.
Bananas.
Yeah, just depends what you're doing. So what about you? What are your actionables? I'm going to fundraise and get people to use Codex.
Well, I hit a huge milestone yesterday, which is I sent the complete guide, quick start guide to game mastering, which is a project
Yes.
I've been working on for a long
So you
time
did
now.
finish your objective.
I did, yeah. I sent it to alpha readers,
Nice.
and it was it's a Google Doc,
Yeah.
and I chose that format because I figured it'd be the easiest for people to use to give feedback with like commenting and stuff.
And did
not,
you do the each
I actually
doc?
didn't at the last. Yeah, I was gonna send everyone their own separate copy so they could only see their own comments. And at the last minute, I was just like tying up so many loose ends still. And similar to you, I think I was just like, I just gotta ship this, and I'm like, I can't be spending any more time. It's like driving me nuts. So I really was like, how much does it really matter if people see others' comments? And I think maybe there could have been some incremental benefit, but not
I think you're talking
not
in, like,
worth enough
single
for me
digit.
to have to read like, and it wasn't as simple either as just duplicating the folder 10 times, because I had hyperlinks in there connecting the adventure to the guide. So it's like I need to duplicate and then rework all these hyperlinks, and it's just like I was like, forget this.
my God.
I'm shipping it as
no.
one thing, and I'll just have, and like processing the feedback is going to be way easier for me. It's just going to speed up the whole process, and I'm going to be able to ship sooner. So when I weighed those trade-offs, I was like, never mind. One doc. Yeah. I'm happy with that decision. Anyway, so that felt great. So now it's out there, off like my mind, and other great people who I am very grateful for are reading it and will give their feedback. And so I'm again kind of waiting, and like once, I guess in about another week or two, once like as much of that feedback's in as can be, I'll start working on shipping the beta, which is like the website, and I'll do like whatever rewrites are needed based on the feedback.
Cool. Yeah. Have you gotten any yet?
Yeah, I have, like very little, but one really good piece of feedback came in quickly last night,
Okay.
and I want to. I haven't gotten back to them yet, but we'll chat about this today. It was from Tharek, who's the founder of Multiverse, which is this like really interesting startup in tabletop role-playing games. So I sent it over, and he was saying he's not sure who this guide is written for. He thinks the audience target could be like tighter. And so it's between like, is it for people who've never played role-playing games before?
Right.
Or people who've played before and like have that experience, and now they're going to become a game master.
Right. Yeah.
And it was fantastic feedback. I really like appreciate that, because I thought the exact same thing when I was writing it. Near the end, like near the last edit, when I had like an actual editor look over it, and it was really helpful. That was great. But in that last sort of 11th hour, I had the same thought. I was like, there's a lot of words. There's a lot of words wasted. I shouldn't say wasted, but
I know what you mean.
written to deal with the possibility that the person reading it has never played a role-playing game.
Yeah.
And so I was like, what if I took all that out? Like, this guide would become way more concise and probably way more effective by being like more opinionated about the specific reader. And so I had it on the table. I was gonna rip it out.
Yeah.
And I was thinking of making it like a second guide almost. Like
Yeah.
maybe it's another guide, right?
Yeah.
It's like intro to game mastering. That's this one. But there's like intro to role playing games. That's a separate essay or guide. I don't know what it is. It's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
much a guide, maybe, because there's no like concrete skill you're working towards learning there.
Right.
It's more
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
but
Fair.
it's like here's an introduction to what all this is about.
Yeah.
And then so my editor was like, like I kind of like that. It's like right now it's a one-stop shop. There's one
Yeah.
thing, right? And the reason I kept it in was there's this one use case I'm thinking of, which is a lot of people want to start playing role-playing games. This is the one I was in. A lot of people want to start playing role-playing games, but game masters are really hard to find. So
Yes.
they can't actually even become a player because they can't find a game because they can't find a game master. And so eventually they crack and they're like, screw it, I'm going to be the game master.
I'm
And
gonna learn.
that
Yeah.
I know is a real use case. And so that's what I was trying to solve for. So now now I'm not sure how I'm going to solve this, but I need to consider both. So on the one hand, do I help or how do I help those use cases of the people who really want to get into the hobby but can't find a game master so they will become it, versus having ultimately a more like concise, tight, probably more effective guide. I feel like I should probably make the guide more opinionated and tight. I was listening to a podcast with Rob Fitzpatrick, who wrote the Mom Test.
Oh yeah.
He's really interested. He's working on a book right now, which is a book about how to write useful books.
Oh my God, amazing.
And he's done really well with his books. And he's actually building a software like product around this too.
Oh wow. Okay.
You can use the software product to write more useful books.
That's
It's a really
cool.
interesting project. Yeah, it sounds really cool.
I'm into that.
But he gave this exact same advice in that podcast. He was like, biggest mistake, like thing I see all the time is like people don't really know the audience and they're trying to make it, you're trying to make it
Too broad.
work for everyone.
Yeah.
And as soon as the same as a book is like, he thinks of a book like a product, right? This is the same thing we do with products. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
It's like when you try to be everything to everyone, it
You're
dilutes everything
Yeah.
and it's just not effective and it sucks and you lose people. So it's like, I'm feeling that. It's probably true. I think I probably should make it more opinionated on who it's for.
Yeah, and so in your alpha reader group, the one challenge that I have. Okay, so let me ask it first. What types of personas do you have in your alpha reader group? Are they all Therics? Sorry, Tharik. Sorry. Are they all like him? Are they all dominant experts? Okay.
No.
Are there any who are like first time people who want to learn to be a GM?
Yep. I've got a couple. I think the list is, unfortunately, I think for the alpha list, it's mostly experienced GMs.
Like domain experts? Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's a couple people who are like Tharik is a good example. And I'd say my friend Will is another one where they're actually, they have like a professional skill set above and beyond like GMing. It's like, so Will's like a professional content writer. So he's like an editor. Cool. He edited the guide, right?
Oh,
and will continue to have this like editor's eye on it. Actually, I think there's one more person who I don't know who's like actually an editor. So reading.
Cool.
So a lot of editing people, which is cool. And then Tharik is sort of like, like a software guy who like understands has all the same bag of tricks as we do.
So cool.
So they're kind of outliers. Most of them are GMs, but a couple people in here are like interested in being game masters, but have never run a game, which is who the guys really
been a player.
I think they've all been players. I don't think I have anyone who has never played. Yeah.
Right.
Which is maybe like it's not enough of a data point, but it's
I just wonder, right? Like,
because actually, you know what I should do today? Actually,
find that.
Well, yeah, but I should. Well, I was gonna. I have like a survey for all the readers, right? So I know exactly what their experience level is.
Yep.
So that'll be all figured out.
Okay.
What I should do or could do is send out a survey, like a demographics question, to my waiting list. I have a like waiting list of
Yep.
people who have signed up specifically to know about this guide. Like
Yep.
when
Yep.
it launches, tell me.
Yep. Yep.
And so I've been meaning to reach out to them anyway and say like, hey, like just hit a big milestone. So
Yep.
like it's coming soon.
Yep.
Haven't forgotten.
Yeah.
But it would be a good chance to ask them like more about them. Like who are you? Like what's
Yeah.
your experience level? And we can see how many of them say like, yeah, I've played a bunch of games, but like I want to try GMing. And then how a bunch of people are like, I don't know what the hell Dungeons and Dragons even is, but this seems cool.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
we'll see, right?
Yeah.
Those are my main sort of like questions are like, have you never played, never GM'd? Have you GM'd but like less than 10 games? Have you GM'd
Yeah.
for like years? It's like those
Yeah.
kind of the tiers.
Yeah.
So it's like never played, never GM, beginner GM, old experienced GM.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I only wonder, right? Like, because if you were in your mind thinking of that use case that used to be you, where it's just like never played, really want to play, can't find GM, screw it, I'm going to be the GM, then you should have that sample in your study. Otherwise, you're going to over-index on like what not those ideal customers are going to say, because like they don't have a voice. Like if you don't have a non-player, non-GM, non-nothing coming in net new, like they might actually deeply appreciate the way that you wrote this thing and be like, this is amazing. And then you got to make a business choice, right? Like, do you optimize
Right.
for that? Is that actually a growing
so
segment?
this is a good question. It's like, but at what moment does the business choice happen? It's a chicken or egg thing?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, for sure.
right? Because I could also just decide right here and now, like, you know what? I want to help those people, but based on this product and the direction it's been going and what I have, it's maybe not for them, and that's okay for now. I can still help all these people.
Oh yeah.
So I guess the
It also
question of
solves-
who is my ideal customer is one I'm actually still not clear on. I'm still discovering that. I've at least I would like to say one thing I'm proud of. I think I've done well and that's the whole. It's supposed to be the main value out of this guide. The vision from the beginning was I niched it down to this is for your first game.
Right.
I've never seen another guide or like resource on game mastering make that call explicitly. So that was my whole like competitive differentiator on this guide. It was like you are going to learn about how to run your first game, nothing else.
Yeah.
Like, you can take lessons from it
Obviously,
for a while,
like,
but that's like that was my ideal customer kind of slicing. But now I need to like maybe get it even more specific potentially.
I know what you mean.
Or
But I
not.
mean,
Maybe who cares? Maybe everyone's like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I suspect not though. I suspect it could be tighter.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Right?
Like,
Who knows? I could also start working on other projects. Right?
Yeah, right.
Like,
Exactly.
This could be good enough.
But I mean, it's what you said yesterday.
who knows?
You literally said it earlier in this conversation. Like you were going to do a custom sheet per feedback to like try to remove bias. Smart. And then you sat down and went, man, it's going to take a while. Forget it, because I might get this marginal gain.
Yep.
This might be a marginal gain. Like spending
could
all
be.
the time
It
to
actually
pare
could.
it down more to
It could
target
be.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
It
sometimes you
depends
gotta let
on
things
my
ride.
business objectives for this guide, and like
Yeah.
the big
But it
thing, as
also-
you know, as a solo founder, like single operator, I'm always fighting opportunity costs. Right.
Exactly.
I've spent a lot of time on this guide already.
Yep.
And I do plan on making it a revenue stream,
Yep.
but I'm currently not convinced it'll be a strong revenue stream.
Yep.
We'll see what happens when it gets out there though.
Yep.
So
But
it's
also,
like my
like,
goal,
how are
like
you-
I don't know what matters most. I don't know.
Well, I thought, how are you presenting it? A web page?
Yeah, it's a website.
Okay, then
Plus,
amazing. Like,
it's a website plus associated resources like that are linked into it.
right. I mean, but just in my opinion, because like one of the companies, I actually love them. I buy so many of their books, is Holloway. I don't know if like I've talked about it a million times. They just rewrote the Holloway Guide to Equity Compensation, which is like the most OG guide on the internet about how equity compensation works.
Oh, neat.
And Joshua Levy is one of the co-founders, and he wrote
Okay.
this guide, and he made it on an open GitHub, like a Git repo, and it was really
Okay.
cool. But anyway, they wound up making a product called Holloway. They write all these things. They write guides. They're amazing. But they're cool because they like it's on the internet and they update it. So like you can definitely deploy
Yeah.
and then definitely edit it in like 6
Yeah.
months to fit a better ICP or something. Like
exactly.
it's fine. Like
That's
yeah, so I'm just like go
exactly
like,
why.
ship it. Unless this right.
No, and that's why I'm
You need
shipping.
showstopper feedback to like
Yeah,
in
no,
my
exactly.
opinion.
I don't need to keep this thing close to my chest while
Right.
it evolves. There's no
Right. It's not like
advantage
it's
to
going
that.
to print.
In
I get
fact, it's like back to our conversation earlier about how important it is to ship sooner.
yeah.
And like frankly, I think one of my biggest missteps with this product is I could have shipped months ago. I could have
Right, yeah.
shipped something that helped a bunch of people months ago, and I didn't because I was stuck on like a specific vision about how it needed to work with like an included adventure.
Yeah.
And I could have, I really think I could have got this out there, and I didn't.
Yeah.
And I think it was a misstep in
Yeah.
this project that I'm gonna try not to repeat.
Well, hopefully not, man. But you know, I've made that mistake probably now like 26 times
Yeah,
at
I know.
minimum. Yeah, like, just all the time. Like the number of product ideas that we have
But
that we
like
actually
this,
like.
this isn't for us, man. This conversation, it's for like whoever
You're right.
stumbles across this video or podcast will hear
Yeah.
me make that. Oh damn! And they'll be sitting on something,
Yeah.
some project, and they'll be like, "Damn,
Ship it.
I should ship this today."
Yeah.
If I
We should
convince one
record-
person by listening to us commiserate, if one person hears this and then ships their thing like
Yeah.
sooner, problem solved. Like we did it. We accomplished something.
So I have way too much of a setup to make a joke, and I'm doing it anyway. Have you ever watched the movie Superbad?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Have you ever seen the title screen, or even in the ending credits, where it's just a silhouette of the two main characters, like Michael Cera and I always forget the other actor's name, but he's really good. But they're just like dancing, and it's like their silhouettes, just like doing
sure.
like really awkward teenager dancing.
Okay. Sure. Yeah.
Apparently, because they were like this movie came a while ago, where I mean, most movies go to DVD, but back then you would buy a movie on DVD and like watch it. Like it was more normal. So apparently Michael Cera and this other actor decided that they should just keep dancing, and they just recorded them dancing for over an hour, because in case someone was sitting on the main screen, they didn't want it to loop, obviously. So
Right.
for an entire hour, they just kept doing this like weird
So
jammy
it doesn't
like
loop.
so it doesn't loop. It loops at like an hour, but like, you know, it would be
No one
just
will get there.
crazy
Yeah.
to make it there.
Yeah.
So what we should do is we need to record an hour-long video of us just saying you should ship it in different ways. And then put it on the internet and just be like, here's your motivation.
We'll do the podcast special episode called "Just Ship It."
Just ship it. And we'll just keep speaking about that in just different ways.
This should just be every week our podcast like discussion though. It should just be like I tell you what I'm working on, and you're like,
Yeah.
dude, you should just ship that.
You should ship it.
And then you tell me what you're working on. I'm like, yeah, sounds like you should ship that right now. Actually. Yeah, it really works, man. I can't get into it right now because it'll just I need to gather my thoughts around this more. But
Yeah.
ever since trying to build my own business starting last fall, like I've really learned, I think, more and more every month, more deeply understood the wisdom of that, of like just ship things. It's
Yeah.
I feel like there's like a really long, heartfelt essay or something brewing around this topic
Yeah.
for me, because it's been
Yeah.
like probably the key insight of my whole entrepreneurial journey so far.
Yeah.
And it needs to be said, I think, too, because it's like the question of my essay would be like, how could I have learned so much about this?
Yeah. Right.
How is that possible?
I know.
Right? I'm coming out of like many
Oh.
years in tech in
Yep.
a very Silicon Valley-esque company
Yeah.
where ship it is like in the
It's
water.
literally on the
It's
wall. and
written
stuff.
on the wall. Yeah.
Like it's everywhere. Yeah.
So I've been spouting this
Yep.
mantra for years, and
Yep.
talking to my colleagues about it, and
Yep.
like doing hack days, and it's like,
Oh yeah.
so it's like kind of a puzzle.
Mhm.
How is it possible that I've learned so much about that since starting my own business? How is that possible? You would think any objective report card would show that I was already an expert on this
Yeah. Yeah.
in October, but I wasn't. I was a
Yeah.
novice,
Yeah.
and I really want to find the words to explain that journey. Like, how did that possibly happen?
That'd be sweet.
I think it's really worth saying, and I just need to figure out the words.
That's
Again, I
true.
think it comes down to knowing versus understanding as like two separate things. But it's like, man, I
Ooh.
really understand. I'm starting to understand like what the hell that really means.
Yeah.
Man,
That was very
I'm passionate about
philosophically
it. I
deep.
think this really matters. I think we should make a ship it special. And I'll
I'm
just
in,
go
man.
off
Ship it
for an
special.
hour on like the 100 reasons it makes sense, you know?
Dude, it'd be so funny. It's like, did you have a great idea and then you wrote it down in like a notebook? It's like, yeah, you should ship that.
You should ship that.
And like people would be like, oh, but no, it's my raw unfiltered. I'm like, exactly. Make a Twitter account, put it in a Google Doc, ship it, see what people think. Like,
It's
I
good
feel
to get out there. Yeah.
it just, I mean, in so many ways. My only response, it actually reminds me a lot of Stephen Pressfield's book, The War of Art, in a way where he talks
I
about the
haven't read that,
resistance.
but heard a lot
It's
about it.
it's really good. It's got some. There's a lot of quirk, but the writing is fun. It's very enjoyable, and ultimately the book. I feel like the book is kind of like us just sitting here saying ship it, but he's just sitting there
Yeah.
saying like do it, like just do the
Yeah,
work.
he's like, that's
just
the
do it.
resistance.
That's
Whatever
literally
you're
the
feeling
resistance
is
speaking.
the resistance, yeah.
It's coming for you.
It's the thing that stops you from shipping. Yeah.
Exactly. And the resistance for me is almost always my internal anxiety, which is what's funny. Because if I get a thought, like an idea, and I like immediately apply myself to that like idea, I generally ship it. Like like I'm just like, oh, this would be a smart thing. I'm like, oh yeah, and I open my email and I send that email or whatever. Fine. But if I get an idea that's a bit bigger, that takes a little bit more time, I like think about it and then I overthink it and then I'm doomed and it goes to like someplace in the corner like every time. So
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
ship it.
Yeah, for me, it's not usually anxiety.
Oh no.
That only happens when
Self-doubt.
it's related to anything, any idea or output that would say something about like the culture war or like politics.
Oh yeah.
But in business or in anything I'm creating,
Mm-hmm.
it's always for me, it's like the overthinking.
Yeah.
I overthink it, and as I overthink, the scope grows,
Yeah. Right.
right?
Yeah.
To the point where it's like, well, that's like a week of work, or like,
Yeah.
so it's like I don't have time for any of
Mm-hmm.
it. So it's like backlogged and gone
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well, like,
it's like many of those could be like potentially like, oh, maybe could just start that. Maybe I could get something out. Maybe I could
yeah.
share the idea somehow.
Well,
There's often
I mean,
a way. You can't always do it. Sometimes you do have to just like do other things. There's only so much time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what
Yeah.
stops me. It's like this mental scope creep because of the overthinking and over engineering.
yeah. It's it's kind of one of the reasons I love like the new tech world of like what people label a product now. It's like because there's these tiny little apps that do very singular functions, and it's like that's a product, and it's cool, and they do good things, and like that's made this a bit better. Because like just yesterday with my team, we were talking about Codex. We're like, well, we deployed, we have alpha in market, and we don't want to like go bang at the code base or all the issues and all the like future ideas I have yet, because it's like I really just want some feedback. That's simple. Like I want to prioritize that backlog. I don't want to just like go ham. So I was talking with my partners, Carl and Salmel was like, I think I'm going to try to make a little tool that can parse a repo and automatically find all the comments and codes and then automatically generate those into snippets. Like just pulls them out and makes it a snippet. And I was like, that's a freaking good idea. So now he's just going to go do that. And it's like, it's almost like growth hacky kind of, because like if you just made a tool that automatically kind of like, it's almost like importing into Codex. It's like you have all this stuff already in your code base, like just put it in this. And we're also looking at doing that for like readme.io.
Yeah.
And like just making it really simple for people to do that. And anyway, it was just funny. Like he just like came up with it on a whim on a phone call. And we're like, yes, absolutely. like during this downtime where we're not like delivering on core product. There's a few things that he's got to harden anyway that he's working on, but it was just like, he's like, yeah, that would be kind of fun, right? And I'm like, yes, and would literally probably net us a lot of users, because it'd be like, oh, that barrier to entry just got significantly reduced, and I might see immediate value, which is one of the biggest problems with Codex right now, is the path to the aha moment is way too long.
Yeah, it's too long.
Like so long.
It is too long.
Like, so it's so that our whole thing is like, how do we instantiate that thing with value day one? And you go, I see it, I get it.
You could widen the use case for that tool a lot by following. There's like a refactoring tip that I heard from Ben Orenstein, actually, in he ran this course a while ago. I think he started it up again recently on like, it's like a 30-day or something. I forget how long it is, but it's like a code quality challenge. Just every day you get an email to do one like little thing to improve your code quality. And one of them is refactor comments to GitHub issues.
Yes.
Like comments should be like to-dos or whatever. It's like, that should be a GitHub issue with like context in it, right?
Yeah.
So if your tool did that, it's just like, here's your issues with like the person who made them and a bit of context. Anyone could use that.
Yeah.
You don't even need to install Codex, right?
No.
That's just awesome.
Yep.
And then, of course, it's like, hey, if you really want context around things,
you want
magically, you actually should install Codex.
Yeah.
Real good.
No, man,
I love
so
those little
it.
growth apps and stuff. It's
dude,
fun.
like, one, they're super fun, but two, like the coolest part about the Codex product is like, I love this kind of idea we came to, which is like, essentially it has no surface. It's like, there's no view for Codex. Like, you don't go to codex.com and log in and do anything. Like, that's not a thing. And as soon as we did that, it's like weirdly so freeing. I feel like the founder of Zapier must have felt that way when they were like, I'm just going to make a thing that like connects that to that everywhere. And like, you're kind of like, that's so weird. And like, you do go into Zapier and you do like author an integration by like clicking like, well, when, whatever, from this tool to this, and you like map data more or less is all it is. But it's just kind of
it's like a
amazing
thin surface. Yeah. You don't
right,
spend
but then
most
you
of your
do
time in it.
Exactly. And then it just
set it and leave. You're not back
and
on
then you go to
dashboard
your Google Doc where the Zapier's feeding the data and you're working in Google Doc. But
hey, this is actually a great product like mindset or tip. Is a lot of people get sucked into again cargo culting and thinking that their products need like home feeds.
Oh yeah,
like because they're chasing engagement metrics and stuff, right? And it's like, we need more time in the app because that's the metric you're looking at. And it's like, hold on, like maybe your product is more of like a tool, and it's like you actually want the less
literally
time people
less
spend
time
in it, the better. So it's I've seen that mistake in my life.
I think about the situation where like you like just go to the future a little bit, right? We have our phones have cool devices. We have like AI assistants now and all this funny stuff. But imagine like an actually good one that like while you're driving could like, like the earbud goes off, the voice goes off, and just gives you pertinent information at that exact moment based on exactly what you're doing. That's Codex while you're working. Sweet. That's the point. So like I want you in VS Code doing your thing, messing with your IntelliSense, because you gave me that word the other day and I've been reading a lot about that now, and like all this stuff, and it's just like you're like, oh man, like what and you just literally like the AI little assistant's like, hey, the senior dev on this project has written this like thing about that, like this is how that works, and you're like, oh, thanks 5 year ago senior IC dev, like for like, and then you just keep going, like it's like.
Okay, now I want to make a VS Code plugin that's just stores the enneagrams of everyone on your team.
Oh my god!
To like prep you for code review. It's like,
that'd be amazing.
Adam's a type 6, right? Like he's not gonna like this. You're gonna need to explain this with data. Yeah. Like like Brandon's like a type. I don't know the enneagram types. Type 3. He's a cheerleader. Like, make sure you talk about how hot this feature is going to be. It's real spicy hot. You want to pump him up, and he'll love it. Man, and then seriously you just get bad. Junior devs have a lot of anxiety around pull reviews, pull requests, and code review.
Yep.
I think there's something there. Something
saying,
to
man.
like pump them up and prep them so that they're
Yep.
just like writing great PRs.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm gonna put
There's
that in
there's
my
so
idea
much in there.
bank.
Like Codex could like its whole
I need
life
to.
could just
I've
be
thought about this before, but it's
template.
like I feel like I do need to try something before 2022. I need to try something in like the tech world space.
Oh, like make a
Like,
product or something?
yeah, or
Oh,
just
okay, like
try
kind of
something.
step
Yeah,
slightly outside Sword and
because
Swords,
I'm
but like
super
deliver.
focused on RPGs and I want to
Yeah,
be. Maybe I don't. Like, I probably should focus on the thing I want to do, right? But I'm
yeah,
feeling like within like another year or so, like all of this like random knowledge I've built up,
yeah,
it's like gonna slowly start draining away, right? I'm like, I feel like
yeah,
I need to capture it in something.
yeah.
Maybe I should just make like a giant essay or like a book or something. But it's
I
like
mean, you
just
could
capture
always.
like all the learnings. Like I need to get them down before they become stale. I'll forget it all.
True. I mean, you can always come write a memo or an integration on Codex, my man. You just let
Okay,
me know.
sweet. Well, you let me
I
know when
would,
you
I
raise and
would
you
love
can
that.
afford me.
Ow! There it is. There it is. No more brother
Okay.
favors,
I'm just kidding, man. All right.
obviously.
I gotta get going, man.
Yeah, same. So that's a great place to leave it.
Yeah. Thanks for the
I
chat.
appreciate you. Yeah, are we gonna set a goal? Are we gonna do that now? Sorry, just before we run away. Do you want to like do a thing?
Yeah, sure, we can. I
All
might
right.
need like a minute to think about it.
Oh
But
yeah, it'll be a 2 week
so
goal too, by the way, because
so
I will
you're
be
you're off
yeah
for a week.
I will be
Okay.
halfway across the country or so by Tuesday next week,
So you arrive in Vancouver when?
Thursday, April 1st, and
Okay,
then
cool.
it's
So we
Good
can have our
Friday.
chat on like after Easter weekend.
Yeah, because it's Good Friday, Easter Monday. So April 6th, I'll actually be back at work, which is a Tuesday.
And
So
do you want to chat that day?
I say yes.
Okay. So 2 week commitment. We have 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Sweet. That's awesome. 2 weeks. Okay, well then I'm gonna go big. By the time next time we talk, the quick start guide to game mastering will have a completed beta. You'll be able to go to howtogm.guide and see the entire guide in its like quote unquote finished form. I'm calling it a
Yeah.
beta, but it's
Yeah.
basically the full thing on
Yeah.
the internet,
Nice.
which, as we discussed, I can then iterate on for years if I want. So
Nice.
yeah, I'll do that.
I like that. That's good. All right.
Nice and ambitious. Big launch.
I'm yeah. I'm gonna be ambitious because obviously a large portion of this is me driving across the country.
Yeah,
from
yeah.
Oregon to an
If
apartment.
you do
so-
anything, I'll be impressed. So.
Yeah. No, but my commit is gonna be 5 more installs of Codex and at least 1 soft circle investor. That's what I'm gonna do. I don't know what the amount will be, but I'm gonna get somebody to be like, yeah, I'm in for an amount of money, whatever.
Okay.
That's what I'm gonna try to do that in 2 weeks.
Let's ship it.
Ooh. I like Audacious. Call it an OKR, okay, everybody. If I get 70%, I win. Anyway.
I'll just do it, man. You can do it.
No, I'm gonna just do it.
We don't
obviously.
have time for
My dog's
OKRs,
losing
man.
his mind.
We're too small.
We're too small for an OKR.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right,
Our
fine.
companies are too small for OKRs. It's like we do it.
Yeah.
We just do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Make it inevitable, brother. All right.
Do it or don't. Yeah.
It's great hanging out.
Okay.
Thank you. See you later.
Bye bye.